Welcome to +14, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your MC, Rach.
And I'm your co-MC, Rich.
Today we have Jess and Alex of Wannabe Games. Jess and Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, not so bad. All right, let's kick it off with our first question. How long have you been playing PBTA games, and what was your gateway? Jess, you go first.
I have only been playing PBTA games for a couple of years. My first ever PBTA game was a Moonpunk game that I played on the Roll to Play podcast. It was a lot of fun. It was a very short book, and I didn't know if I was going to like it a lot. The playbooks were a lot different than some of the other Powered by the Apocalypse games I've seen, but I just really enjoyed playing it. Oh yes, you have it, Threadbare. Yes.
Threadbare! Awesome.
Yes. Sometimes I say Stitchpunk and then the name of the title, like the actual title of the book, disappears from my mind. But I played a carnival toy lobster named Jean-Claude Crabdam, and I had a terrible French accent.
Oh my gosh.
I just really liked how simple it was, and at that point I didn't even know what Powered by the Apocalypse was. But then I started listening to the McElroy brothers, My Brother, and Me, because of Alex.
Mm-hmm.
They have their Adventure Zone podcast, and the second season they did was a Monster of the Week podcast.
Right.
And we started playing Monster of the Week, and I really, really enjoyed that. I was the MC for that. So that kind of got me started there, and that's only been a couple years now. So that's my story.
Yeah, and my first play was that game of Monster of the Week that Jess MC'd. And I got to play my favorite thing in any game, which was like a failure, someone who's really bad at everything. My entire character was failed FBI agent who didn't pass the test and instead tried to be an animal control agent and could barely do that. And it was the first time I got what I really like from games, which is not playing some super epic hero and instead being like, well, I can almost do some basic stuff, but I'm probably not the best guy for this job. And constantly saying, I'm like, oh, no, I don't think I can do this. And that idea of not having to be the big, strong person was really exciting to me personally. And then I played every other Powered by the Apocalypse game I could find for like a year and a half.
Nice. Well, let's jump on over here and read a sitch. Read a sitch. So in Read a Sitch in this segment, we allow our guests to talk about something going on at their tables or a specific issue of play. Anything and everything's open, but we do love to talk about PBTA games here. Jess, I think you had something you wanted to talk about.
I did. So I'm a teacher. That's my day job. I'm a high school English teacher. And I love the overlap between tabletop gaming and education, and I have found it really interesting how Powered by the Apocalypse specifically is useful in the classroom. I think it was back in 2017, a person named Rachel Beck made a thread on Twitter about how they use Powered by the Apocalypse moves to educate teachers and mentor them so they feel more comfortable in the classroom, essentially, because they have a list of moves that they can fall back on. So what's your next move? Is it to introduce a topic or to differentiate something? And this has also been expanded into using Powered by the Apocalypse moves to teach students just in general. When you go to education conferences, you can sometimes find conference meetings that are about Powered by the Apocalypse and how to use that in your classroom.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I think Powered by the Apocalypse works really well for that. Because when you're a student, when you're learning how to do something, it's helpful to have a playbook. It's helpful to know what your moves can be and what moves you can make in a discussion or in a writing project. So when we're talking about teaching writing, you can have a list of moves like, okay, what's my next move here? It could be to introduce a new argument. My next move could be to explain an argument. It could be to add an example. It could be to appeal to an authority. And having that list of moves really gives students the comfortability and the motivation to add things to their writing that they might not have known how to do. And it just fits in so well, even as a writing resource, because you can print off a little playbook, give it to them, and they can Instead of them saying, like, I'm completely stuck, I don't know what to do next, you can say, consult your playbook. What have you got on your list?
That is really amazing. So you talked about this as a playbook for students, but it sounds like there's moves. Are there agendas and principles mixed in there for the teacher as an MC?
Yeah, definitely. You can do that. For example, your agenda as a teacher is, of course, to educate your students and make sure that they learn. And that fits in really well with something that all teachers do, is creating a list of standards that the students are going to meet at the end of your lesson. So at the end of your lesson, you are going to know how to do this, this, and this. You're going to be able to do this, this, and this. So your agenda as a teacher is to set the learning goals for your students. It is to support them as a teacher and turn the game, just like you would in a Powered by the Apocalypse game. You as the teacher, you're not commanding the classroom. You are getting the players, the students, to command for themselves and to tell these stories on their own and to take that initiative to create that learning environment instead of you doing it for them.
You could have like a learning snowball. That's nice.
Yeah. It is really, really cool. I could go on all day just about the overlap between game design and GMing and playing games and education. I nerd out about it all the time. It's one of my passions. But having those agendas and using it as a game too, gamification has been studied so much in education and how it is motivating and makes learning more interactive, which is what you want as a teacher. You want your students to engage with material and have fun while they're learning. And plus you could turn them into gamers, which is always good, in my opinion.
That is fantastic. Thank you both so much. Let's hop on over here and open our brains to this Moonpunk thing you keep mentioning. I'm really excited about it.
So I think it's a great time to segue over to Open Your Brain.
Open your brain.
Open Your Brain is the segment where our guests will discuss an Apocalypse Engine game that they've designed, in this case, Moonpunk. So, Justin, Alex, what's Moonpunk about? What's the setting?
The setting is based mostly off the novel The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein, because it's about a lunar colony that tries to get its independence from the Earth, much like America did from Britain. But we're taking that out because no one wants to read that book right now, except it's extremely good and you should read it. And instead, it's just a moon colony with a kind of 1950s aesthetic as far as technology goes. It is in any time you want, and it's very focused on the idea of punk, as in anti-authoritarianism. Pretty much no matter what you're doing in the game, the authority is doing something bad, and they're going to make your life bad. So you're trying to stop them any way you can. I'm sure a lot of people right now understand what that can feel like in real life, and instead we made a slightly more hopeful version of the game, where you get stuff done, unlike now where we have to stay inside and can't get stuff done.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be, like, grim dark. It's not supposed to be like, you're struggling an unwinnable fight. You're coming into it with the expectation that the punks are going to be successful in the end, even though they're going to have some setbacks, even though there are going to be obstacles. It is a winnable fight for them. We really wanted to keep that hopeful nature, because without a hopeful nature in the world, what are you fighting for? I don't really like the pessimistic nature of a lot of other punk games. Like, a lot of cyberpunk can be so pessimistic.
Yeah.
What mechanics are different in Moonpunk versus somebody who strolls in and has only ever played, let's say, Apocalypse World, or maybe even Monster of the Week?
Let's start with the wounds are different. Just the wound clock didn't work for us, so it's a little bit more simplified, and ways to get permanent wounds is within there. There is tags in our game where you can basically argue or make your case for a +1 or -1 in certain situations. The example we give in the book is if you have a bloody nose, you might be able to tell people, like, you have to run away, it's really serious, and they're going to believe you more. Whereas if you try to haggle for silk while having a bloody nose, the shopkeeper is going to want to kick you out.
You're invoking a tag. It's one of your moves that you can always take. And it's also one of the moves that the authority, who is what we call our MC, the authority can also invoke tags to either impose a benefit on a player or to impose a setback, an obstacle.
The two biggest things is the game is specifically set on a world where gravity is very low. So this isn't like a rule, but you can flip a car as an average person if there is cars in your game. Because that's how gravity works on the moon. You can jump on top of a building because everyone can jump. It would be like 40 feet in the air on the moon. I did the math somewhere and looked at NASA for a lot of this. But like, you can do a lot of this weird stuff. Throwing someone 25 feet behind you is just a normal thing a person could do because that's how gravity works. So there's not an exact rule for it, but it does change the narrative of everything going on. And then the final thing is Tanstoffel, which is lifted directly from the moon as a harsh mistress, but is also a economic theory, not to bore everyone. It stands for there ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And in our game, instead of having money, because of the social situation the punks will find themselves in, everything you want has to basically be done by barter, which is hard, or this idea that if you want something from someone, you're going to have to pay them back. And these are minor, major, and life debts where I need to borrow your bicycle. That's a minor debt. You're probably going to have to buy him a beer later. But if it's something like, I need to use your house during a riot to protect from the police, putting your family in danger, that's like a life debt, and they're going to come asking, and the authority gets to use that as a way to push forward the narrative at a later date.
It also impacts whether or not, like, how much experience it takes for you to level up. If you have outstanding Tanstoffel debts that are major or higher, you need to have more experience in order to level up, because you've essentially bartered that away. That experience really right now belongs to someone else until you pay that off. You can still level up. It just takes, I think we had 2 extra, right? I feel like I'm not an expert in my own game.
Up to 2.
As an authority, it's really fun because if they have decided, I invoked Tanstoffel, I used that move, I was successful in it, well, now I get to put that in my pocket for later and bring that up when I want to put them in a bad situation. It's one of my moves as an authority. And that could be a new way to introduce new plots. It could be a way to get them to do something. It could be a way just to bring the consequences back on them for their previous actions. And it's been a lot of fun when I've been able to be like, hey, remember that person that you borrowed the truck from? Well, their cousin has traded that debt, and now their cousin, who's a little bit more of a slime ball, wants something from you. Because you can also exchange Tanstoffel debts, kind of like its own bartering power.
And it works really well when you're trying to hook the players into the game by having a just NPC you kind of know come up and say, hey, I need a favor. And then you have that debt later, and if they say, run a bar, you're like, well, we always have a place to lay low if we need it. So it adds a lot of narrative flavor and also fits well within the kind of social structure we imagined for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Does Tanstoffel work between PCs?
Yes.
There are certain links that we have we call our player connections links, like your history with the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that start you with a Tanstoffel debt to another person. So you can start there like, oh, now I owe this person a debt later on, and they can bring that up later as the players see fit. One of the things that I really, really like about Powered by the Apocalypse and why we wanted to use Powered by the Apocalypse for this game is the amount of player control and not just GM control. Making it feel like the world is actually moving around with you and without you at the same time makes it feel like your actions have real consequences. And I like that as a player, and I like that as an authority.
Yeah, I could definitely see if the game is about the players taking part in a revolution, you want them to have certain direction over what shape that revolution takes. Obviously, the MC is going to react and put situations in their way, but it's not going to be the MC basically being, I guess, for lack of any better term, the plot's pace car saying, oh, now you're obviously going to do this, and this is going to be the third phase, and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't like to do that as a GM anyway, because it's a lot of work on my part to set that pace. I want the players to do all the heavy lifting for me.
And we actually, within the text, put an outline of rules, basic guidelines for players to follow, of taken from real life literature and actual advice given to revolutionaries. Stuff along the lines of, like, you have to make allies who are trustworthy, and then you have to do something. And then if you take power away from the authority, you have to fill that gap in the power, or something will happen. And it leaves places for the authority in the game to say, like, well, yes, you maybe took over this building, but you didn't then put anyone there, so someone worse just came in and is now using that facility. So you have to really think through your actions in a way that a lot of places don't, where I think instead of putting all that pressure on the MC or GM for, I did this dungeon crawl, is there any plot relevance to it? Instead it's, well, yeah, you didn't do this, so there is plot relevance to it. Just little basic guidelines. It's nice to see.
Justin, Alex, what are your favorite moves in the game and why?
My favorite move is a move that everyone has access to, and it's buried a little bit in the book. It's not on your list of basic moves. It's called There's Just No Fucking Way. And what that means is, if you and the other players are in an impossible situation, your ship is crashing, everyone's going to die, you're surrounded by a bunch of goons, they're going to kill you all, the building that you're in is on fire, the dome is collapsing, something that would typically end in a total party kill is about to happen. And what you can do is look at the other players at the table and tell them, there's just no fucking way. And then you tell them what you personally are doing to become the savior in this situation. You're sacrificing your own character's life in order to save the rest of the group. This is the epic moment, like, oh, okay, everyone else get to the escape pods. I'm going to pilot this ship until you are all out. It's that moment in Star Wars where Admiral Holdo pilots the ship through the enemy fleet. It's those moments, and not only does that prevent a total party kill, which isn't fun because that ends the game. That's not fun. But it also makes sure that you're not just avoiding it entirely. There are still consequences. A character is going to die. And it's supposed to have this deep meaning and also give you that cool hero moment. So that's why it's my favorite move.
Nice.
I find it really interesting in this specifically because we kind of outline that in most situations, when you're injured and left behind, your character probably doesn't die. They're probably being imprisoned, and anything they knew is now going to be used against you. And maybe you get a reunion later, but they're probably going to be in prison for the rest of your campaign. So it really changes the dynamic of that. And my favorite move is way less epic in scale. It might be the most humdrum idea for a move we've ever had, but it's the old-timer's spin a yarn. And what this is the old-timer can talk to any NPC and start telling a story. And as long as they tell a story and there's nothing actively suspicious around them, they have to sit there and listen to whatever nonsense they're spewing.
That's so good.
I remember Jess did one at a con where she had a player continually tell this story in the background while everyone else made their moves. Part of the move is, if you ever stop talking, the move ends, and they might get caught doing whatever the thing they are doing. So she had the player actively telling some nonsense story for like 3 or 4 minutes while they got in place, making sure he never stopped talking. And it's just such a, for me, an iconic idea of just the old guy pretending to kind of blather on in order to distract that. I can't remember where I've seen it in movies, but it's in like every movie I've ever seen at the same time.
Well, it's just instantly recognizable of, oh, that's what this move is supposed to do. I've seen this. I can just imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's so ridiculous. I love the old timer. It's one of my favorite playbooks.
Well, you've gotten us pretty interested in this Moonpunk thing. What do you think about jumping on over to Act Under Fire and we play it a little bit?
I would love that. Yes.
It is time to act under fire.
Take it away, Jess.
So what I'm gonna have you two do right now is tell me about your characters. I want you to introduce who you're playing, and then we'll establish links between the two of you, and then I'll give you your scene.
I'm going to kick it off by saying I'm playing the signature character, +1 forward plussy. He is an enforcer playbook, or class, I think you call it in Moonpunk. His specialty is that he's corn-fed. He's just downright big and strong. When he uses throw them during a throwdown roll, he can deal harm to both the person he threw and the object or person he threw them at. That's pretty awesome. He has a few moves. Buddy system, which allows him to choose a buddy during a dangerous situation and help them out. You Talking to Me, which is a move that allows him to taunt or threaten the enemy before a fight starts to do stuff. And Don't Touch Them, which allows him to help out allies or bystanders. He is a big, rude enforcer. Yeah, that's it.
All right, what about you, Rach?
I'm going to be playing Hazel, who is a lab coat. Her background is in chemistry. She has a formal education. I think she works for the education system right now. And I took 3 moves. Would you hit someone with glasses? Which, until I perform physical violence in a scene, no one can use physical violence on me. Hold my glasses, which on the first punch in a scene, I get to roll using smarts rather than bones. And actually, I can roll smarts to influence someone as long as it sounds like what I'm making up could be reasonably scientifically plausible.
Yes, wonderful. And now, how are you two related to each other? What are your links to each other? My favorite part of Powered by the Apocalypse.
I've got a couple of interesting ones here, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be my student, or do you want to be my extroverted friend who pulls me out of my lab all the time?
Ooh, I don't know if Plussy's the kind of person you would want to teach, so maybe the other one.
Yeah, that one's really grippy. Yeah, we're weird friends.
Nice. And I think we've gotten in trouble with the authority before together. What do we do?
What did we do? Is it possible, given that my background is in chemistry, we may have been intentionally trying to steal the same chemical load from a place, and we met each other during this heist, and it turned out we were doing the same heist and became friends, and now we're on the run?
That sounds fun. Yeah, that sounds good.
I love that. That's great.
We are definitely weird friends. We could have like a 1980s like action series where we're completely on the run from the authority every week.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I love the idea of a really big, strong enforcer and their geeky little nerd lab coat friend. I would watch that.
Oh, definitely wearing a lab coat. Only the best in fashion.
So we are on the moon, of course. We're going to imagine that maybe you've already set some stuff up. You've already had some experiences together in this adventure. We're going to kind of start in media res here, where you are at 1 season total moonscaping, and the corrupt mayor, Mooney Giuliani, is holding a press conference. It's a moonscaping. It's like a little shop, but they do have security out here. And what's your goal going in here? Are you going to be disrupting this press conference in some way? Are you going in to steal something? What do you want to do here at 1 season total moonscaping?
I think disrupting might be interesting, but I guess the question is, what level of disruption should we be doing, Rich?
I mean, I want to break everything here. Everything about this place offends me.
Well, have I got good news for you about fertilizer?
Tell me more.
I think this is in character now. It's like this flashback to, so fertilizer is often explosive. It's going to be stored in a way to make it not explosive, but we are going to rectify that.
Yeah, I'm imagining Hazel at like a chalkboard, like, okay, so here's the chemical combination, and plus he's just like, yes, I see.
But we have to position it a certain way so the media can capture it on film and audio, but they don't get hurt, because we don't want to be responsible for injuries.
Of course not.
Yes, and this is perfect too, because part of being a punk and part of leveling up in this game is to be able to disseminate information. So if you're disseminating the information that this whole press conference is total BS, making sure that people in the press can see is what you want as punk. So you are outside of 1 season total moonscaping. You're getting ready to go in. So what do you want to do?
Has the conference started yet? Do we have that dramatic moment, or are people still setting things up?
Let's say that they're still setting things up at this moment. By the time you get in there, it'll be like he's about to like pull out some evidence. I think that's like the moment that you want to interrupt, is when he's like pulling out his files and he's like shaking them at the camera and telling people things. I think that's the moment you definitely want to interrupt.
The first thing we should do is get inside. We don't want to get caught before we've set things up.
No, we don't want to get caught at all, Prof.
Well, I mean, you do look striking on film, so...
Oh, thanks.
Have you got any experience getting into places we shouldn't be getting into?
I was thinking maybe press passes are a dime a dozen, right? We just kind of pretend that we're part of a rag, some kind of blog, newspaper, or something or other.
That's a great idea. Jump cut to, we have press passes.
Oh yeah, definitely. You have some press passes, and you know what? Normally what I would have had you do is actually play out that scene, and I would have had you like try to get those press passes. You'd probably have to do a Tanstoffel. So I'm putting you as if I'm actually making a campaign for you. I'm going to pretend that now you have a debt to some poor journalist. You have a real press pass to the Lunar News, that very boringly named newspaper that I've just come up with at the top of my head. It sounds like you're trying to get in here casually and act casual, sneaking past the security. Is that right?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like what, Hazel's trying to do. What's Plussy trying to do?
Oh yeah, in like a lamb, out like a lion. Right? That's the plan.
Definitely.
So I think since you're trying to act casual, I would have you roll plus cool to act casual.
Which one of us should make the roll?
Actually, I think because the big enforcer is probably the most suspicious, I'm going to have Plussy make the roll.
Fair enough. Are you going to maybe help me out here?
I'd love to help you out. So would that be rolling a plus cool as well?
Yes, you would also be rolling a plus cool, unless you're trying to help out in a different way.
I think Hazel's going to be listening in and might make a nudge if Plussy gets a little bit off into a tangent or is looking a little bit too intimidating.
What? There's supposed to be a dress code for press? Come on.
Have you seen bloggers? God.
Yes, you come up to one of the security guards that is, like, checking press credentials, and he stops and he takes a look at you, Plussy, and says, who are you?
Plus from Lunar Times. It's right here on the badge.
And he's definitely taking a close look at that, and I'll have you go ahead and roll plus cool.
Help me out, Professor Hazel. Let's see what I get first.
All right, I have a 7, so I give you a +1 on your roll, but I open myself to danger of a failure.
Let's see how this goes, and then, Hazel, I'll have you say, like, how you were helping will determine how exactly successful that was.
Take a +1.
I just rolled a 10, and my cool is a 1, so that's a total of 12 with the help.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you do succeed. So if you had the radical effect for this, you would also get some bonuses, but I don't think that you do. So tell me what you do is he's examining this press badge, he's taking a look at you. What are you doing to pulling off this shady business, lying?
You think maybe we should do a story about how the Mayor Giuliani's guards are incompetent and kept us from being able to hear the press conference? You think that would be good?
I think how Hazel is selling it is she's pulling out pieces of equipment that clearly it looks like we're setting up and giving this person the stink eye, almost like we're threatening to start filming at security.
Yeah, and he definitely reacts to that. He doesn't want to be bothered. He doesn't want to cause a scene here, because Looney Giuliani, he would just fire him straight out. He'd be zip recruited right out of there. So he's like, go, press is back there. Don't cross the line. And he kind of waves you on through.
We would never think about crossing a line.
So you go in through kind of the chain link fence-ish area that's blocking off, and you can see where the other actual journalists are setting up their cameras. They're all elbowing each other, trying to get the best place. You see one person's like jumping up and down, getting kind of a little bit of air, trying to see what's going on. They have a bunch of posters set up on. Apparently their backdrop is just going to be a garage door. It doesn't seem like the best place to hold a press conference, but I guess here we are. There is a door that's going into the building itself, but I will have you all explore a little bit. So what are you doing as you're kind of filtering in?
Hazel's getting an idea of where the other press, the actual press, are standing and setting up, and sort of doing the calculations in her head in terms of, like, what severity of an explosion are we looking at? Because we just want it to make a scene and make the mayor look like a fool. Again, not wanting to hurt anyone.
Okay. Are you trying to pull a move here as you're doing that?
I think Hazel's trying to read the room.
Okay, well, I will have you read the room, because I think that works. And yeah, you have pretty good smarts here, so let's see how well you do as you're looking around specifically.
It was a 10.
All right, so you get to ask 3 of the following questions. Anything weird going on? Who do I know here? What's my opening for doing X? Anyone here look dangerous? Anything here look dangerous? Any objects of note? And any people of note?
I think the obvious one that grabs me is anything here look dangerous.
You know, you're at a moonscaping company, and there is moon fertilizer, and there are moon chemicals and dangerous moon landscaping implements, etc. There's a lot of stuff here that could be dangerous. This is, again, not the best place for a press conference, because this is just a moonscaping company.
Is the fertilizer some kind of manure?
It is manure.
That's
from
terrible.
Cows that go moon.
And on that terrible note, is anything weird going on here?
Well, the whole press conference is weird, but you get a glance and you see everyone here is really excited. The weirdest things are you, but you can see Looney Giuliani, who is kind of pacing around by the front of the building, reading through notes and scribbling on them with a Sharpie.
And what's our opening for breaking in?
Well, probably when the conference actually starts, all eyes are going to be on Looney. So that might be the best time to actually get into the building itself if that's where you want to go, or being around behind the people. However, there are security guards throughout. You can only assume that there would be people who are also undercover security.
That might be trouble. Gonna lean into Plussy and go, there might be undercover security here, as well as the actually uniformed security.
Well, do you want me to cause some kind of distraction? Or you think we can get inside there and get to that fertilizer?
Oh, distraction sounds really good.
Sweet.
Otherwise, we're going to be waiting till this guy figures out his speech. It might be a while. See, he's still taking notes.
I think we're going to try to wait for the conference to start and get our way into the fertilizer to set it to blow.
All right, so the conference does start. Looney, he's up there. He's going off on some stuff. Cameras are clicking. Cameras are flashing. All eyes are definitely on him. Who is actually doing the sneaking in, or is it both of you?
Both of us.
So as we start to do this, it seems dangerous. I'd like to go ahead and choose my buddy. And my buddy would be the professor. Here, the good old prof. And I'll be taking a +1 ongoing to any protect someone, think fast, or help out roles to help that person.
That sounds good. So then I think I'll have Professor Hazel do yet another act casual as she is trying to surreptitiously get in to the building.
Well, I'm definitely glad I put points in cool because that is an 8.
Okay, an 8 is a mixed success. Are you helping out there at all?
I mean, I am, but the most I can give is a +1.
That's true. So you don't have to. If you don't want to, we can just go ahead and skip over that. But
I'm in it because all it's going to do is just get me involved, which I already am. So I will roll. What I'm doing is keeping my cool as I do it.
Yeah.
Trying to guide her. So I got a total of 9. I'm mixed in it. You get a +1, you're up to a 9, but it doesn't push you to the +2.
Yes, you're both open to danger here. You get in. None of the cameras swivel on you. The speech is not interrupted. But as you get into this building and are ready to close the door behind you, thinking like, whew, we did it, one of the security guards puts their hand on the door and opens it and closes it behind them and says, I knew there was something weird about you two.
Oof.
And he reaches down for his shock baton. What are you gonna do?
So I'd like to use the move you talking to me. Before a fight starts, you can taunt or threaten the enemy and roll plus presence.
Okay.
Yeah. So say, what are you going to do? Tickle me with that?
Go ahead and roll plus presence.
I got a 1 presence. Here we go.
Do it.
Oh my gosh, these dice are hot. That is an 11 plus 1, 12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, all hostility is focused on me until another ally joins in. So
well,
you can do your thing.
And that is probably what would have happened anyway, since Professor Hazel has, would you hit someone with glasses? Yeah, he is going to swing the shock baton down at you and try to give you a little bit of a zap. I think because you didn't really start off by trying to throw down against him, he's getting a good thwump on you here. So I'm going to have you, just like for the first one, he doesn't have the electricity turned on, but he is going to cause 1 harm to you as this hostility is focused on you. So just 1 harm. So he's just kind of like slapping you a little bit.
Nice. I think I'm going to keep him focused on me, try to throw down, but I'm less interested in anything other than making space for Professor Hazel to do her thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll beat feet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Hazel's going to use this as an opportunity to run over, rig this thing the blow, and then see if she needs to come back to save Plussie's butt.
Okay, so I think that you are using tech. So I'm going to have you start using tech here first, and that is a plus smarts as you're trying to rig up the explosives. And then I'll have Plussie roll to throw down.
Hey, Plussie, did you give me any bonus going forward?
All my bonuses are to help out, so maybe I'm trying to help out by doing this? By clearing you space? I'm willing to take some harm if that's what happens, if need be, to help out.
We might need a little bit of help out right now.
Oh my.
Just a little bit.
Ooh, uh-oh. Go ahead and roll to help out, but I want you to add your plus bones to that.
Ooh,
because
nice.
you are helping out by being physical.
Sounds good. So I already have the +1 from Buddy system, +2 from Bones. This should go well. And it did. I rolled an 8, and that makes an 11.
Okay.
Fantastic, because initially I had rolled a 6.
Ooh, that would have been a failure.
Up to a 7.
Okay, so on a 7, it works, but you pick one complication. Either the tech is damaged or destroyed afterwards. Now, I don't think that that's a complication here, because you want it to be damaged or destroyed.
That's a bonus feature.
I am, as an authority, going to say you can't pick that one. You cause harm to yourself, which is 1 to 3 harm based on the innate danger, and that is, there's a lot of danger here, because it is explosives. And the tech does something that you don't expect, meaning I take a hard move.
Well, surprise me. I think the tech is going to do something we don't expect.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to pause there. Camera swivels back to Plussie. Plussie, you have put yourself in harm's way as Hazel moved around to go hurry and rig up the explosives. You're getting in the way. You're physically blocking. So I'm actually going to give you a -1 forward on your throwdown roll.
Oof. Okay. I'll take it. All right, my bones is a 2. -1 means I'm rolling with a +1 here. And that, unfortunately for you, is a 9. +1 makes it a 10. What is going on?
You got some hot dice again.
Yeah, I think what I do is I'm literally throwing down by throwing him, just flinging him. Sorry, Alex, you just gave me the idea. So I'm flinging him 20-some feet away up into the air to try to make space for us to be able to boogie.
Yeah, and that is one of the effects you get to take when you have a 10+ on a throwdown, is to throw them, and you get to choose where they land. So where would you like the security guard to land?
I wanted to end up on the second story of this huge warehouse, so he's got a chance to not be exploded.
Okay, yes, very smart there. So he does manage to get the electricity turned on his shock baton, and so as you grab him and get ready to just fling him up, he does shock you a bit for 2 harm,
Oof.
and you're going to get the temporary tag of shocked. So you are a bit frazzled, and I might use that later. Uh-oh, Hazel, as he flings up the security guard up into the top of the warehouse, you make eye contact with him, and you realized that the timer that you set that was supposed to go off a little later is actually ticking down at double speed.
Great! We gotta go.
Let's beat feet.
And I'm going to say that security guard is well taken care of. You've launched him into the second floor. So as you're running out, what are y'all doing?
I think any pretense of covering the fact we're escaping has gone completely out the window because it's all about speed right now. Hazel is just going to look for the shortest distance between them and escape, and I think we're going to barrel through a crowd.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're thinking fast. Is that right?
I would agree, yes.
So you're rolling a plus cool to think fast.
I will help you out.
Good, because, again, we'll need it.
You're my buddy, so I get a +1. I'm trying to push my way through, so does that feel like I'm using...
I'm going to say that's a bones, yeah, because you're barreling through.
Okay, that means I've got an 8 plus 2 from Bones and 1 from Buddy Up, so that's more than enough.
Yo, yeah, as the enforcer, like any physicality, you're going to basically be successful at it. So, yeah, you're adding that, helping out there. And Professor Hazel?
Yeah, Professor Hazel's definitely going to need it because initially, again, that was a 6 and that'll bump us up to a 7. I imagine it's like a linebacker type situation where it's like, Plessy, I need you to like barrel through, cut us a path.
So yeah, you guys come running out of this building. You start barreling right through the press and security guards are obviously taking an action right away. People are flying up in the air as Plessy is physically barreling into them, tossing them like a linebacker. And Hazel, though, as you are trying to dodge the crowd, you are successful in getting through, but one of the security guards steps right in your way. Now, they're right there. You're either going to have to get separated from Plessy as you're escaping this crowd, or you're going to have to fight this guy.
So I think now is the time for Hazel to show what she's really made out of. Because it's the first time I'm engaging in combat, I am going to use Throwdown, but I'm going to roll Smarts instead of Bones, because my Bones is terrible. He's not going to see this coming.
Yes, go for it.
Oh, and that is a 14.
Oh,
Wow.
One good roll of this game.
Thwack. You know exactly. It's like the Sherlock Holmes moment where you calculate exactly how to hit him, and you are able to catch back up with Plessy. And it's not too long after that the manure explosion goes off, raining everyone in a shower of poo-poo. You've thoroughly embarrassed Looney Giuliani. Congratulations.
He's melting! Look, he's melting!
Got a little bit of fat going down his face.
Also, the fly land on his head. It's great.
Wow, that was great. Jess and Alex, thank you both for coming on and showing us Moonpunk. That was really, really fun.
Thank you. It was fun for me, too.
Thanks for having us.
If our listeners want to follow more of your work or check out your other games, where can they find you online?
Our website is wannabegames.com. You can find our games at DriveThruRPG and Itch. They're linked on our website. And you can follow me at Joska on Twitter.
And you can find me at Kitty Crusade on Twitter and Discord with an invite in my pin tags. And I want to take a moment to say, if you need someone to help playtest or rubber duck a game, or if you're trying to get into game design, me and Jess are both trying to make ourselves available to new and marginalized creators. So stop by our Discord, send us a DM, and we'll make some time to talk games and design with you.
Fantastic.
And thank you once again for joining us today.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community, Richard Rogers and Rach Shelkey. You can find us at gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at +1FWD. If you would like to support our show, visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/gauntlet. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and Magay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Aural Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko, Metal Version, and Drowning Attitude. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Aural Hotbed on their website, www.savageauralhotbed.com.
Hi, this is Lowell, manager for the Gauntlet Gaming Community. I want to tell you that we have a Gauntlet Community Open Gaming event coming up the weekend of February 25th through the 28th. This is a free online RPG mini-con aimed at getting new players acclimated to online play, showing off awesome story, OSR, and indie games, and also introducing folks to how we run games on the Gauntlet. Signups will open February 1st at noon Eastern. Even if an event's filled, we have wait lists, and signing up for those is a good way to show game facilitators what RPGs are in demand. You can find all the details and links at gauntlet-rpg.com/gauntlet-community-open-gaming. There you'll find a link to the online registration calendar. Most sessions run 3 to 4 hours, and we have scheduled breaks between blocks. We're still adding events as of this recording. All sessions follow our Gauntlet Code of Conduct, which includes the mandatory presentation and use of safety tools by game facilitators. We hope you'll check out this community-created event. It's free, and anyone can play. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter or community member. Thanks so much.